Hi there, and today I've got the pleasure of chatting with Luka Letica, who is the president of Souls. Great to have you here, Luka. And Luka and I are just going to have a good chat about what her observations have been, I guess, over the last several months, what's been occurring from a New Zealand perspective, but also how herself she's navigated this interesting time. So good to have you here, Luka.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, and down in Dunedin.
I'm up in Auckland at the moment, but
Right.
heading back to Dunedin next week.
Wow.
Yeah, I've escaped from the cold for a little bit, so it's quite nice being up here in the sun, that's for sure.
I bet. I bet. Yeah, we've had some great weather up here.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I know. Just, I guess the first question to start with is, given what we've all been through over the past kind of several months and somewhat coming through it, what are your thoughts and your observations around how you're sensing the people around you and law and the students are tracking?
Mm. So it was quite interesting from our perspective because COVID kind of brought everyone together. I think we all had this kind of underlying worry, which made everyone work together quite well. So everyone was super involved during COVID because obviously all of our learning went online. So everyone was dealing with this new landscape. All of our lectures were purely online. Our conversations with our lecturers, we obviously didn't have any kind of social aspects like we usually do in Dunedin. But people really kind of bonded together and wanted to make it kind of the best environment that they could. So we had feedback forms on our Souls page where people could kind of submit their worries or what was happening well, and then we'd take that straight to the dean, and then she would have a conversation with the lecturers if people weren't kind of coping well or if people didn't like the way that they were doing things. So yeah, everyone kind of really worked together to ensure that this didn't kind of hinder our learning experience, which was really great to see.
Right. Sounds like a great sort of collegial atmosphere.
Definitely.
Mm.
And I think it could have gone either way. We were quite worried that students wouldn't really be involved anymore, or that there wouldn't be kind of anything that we could do for them purely online. But it was quite interesting how people would often become more involved because things were online. I think, walking into an event or signing yourself up is often quite daunting, whereas, doing something over Zoom, people were able to do it from the comfort of their own living room. So I hope that now people have kind of taken that first step to get involved in our sort of events, that it will translate when we go back down to Dunedin and our events start running up again.
Good.
So,
Yeah, I think Zoom did that, didn't it? It kind of gave more flexibility and in some ways a bit more opportunity.
definitely.
Mm.
Yeah, Zoom's an amazing thing.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you think things might change then, given what we've been through?
Well, I hope that what we learnt during COVID will translate into the future, primarily kind of the collective focus rather than the individual focus. Because law school is quite individual. You have, your assignment that you're doing for your degree. And so it can feel quite lonely sometimes when you're pulling late nights in the library by yourself. So I hope that that kind of collective focus that we found during COVID about all having to come together and work together to make it the best environment will translate for the future. And so, I hope that people raise issues like they did during COVID, and we find outcomes that suit everyone for our events. So yeah, I definitely hope that kind of we all continue to work together like we have during COVID, because especially, for New Zealand as a whole, there had to be that collective focus, because if one individual didn't follow the rules, then it would kind of reflect on everyone. So yeah, fingers crossed.
I do think that was one of the great benefits that came out of this particular sort of health, was that we work together.
Definitely.
So the legal landscape, I'm sure, as you've watched from your perspective, has changed and morphed and will continue. From your thoughts, what do you predict might be happening over the next kind of 3 or 5 years? What are your views?
Mm. I mean, it will be interesting to see how businesses kind of generally cope with the ramifications of COVID and what our economy is going to look like in the next couple of years. I know that COVID, with clerkship programs especially, had quite a big effect on them. And so kind of the number of applicants that they would take for their clerkships decreased. And so it'll be interesting to see if kind of there are the same level of jobs that there have been in the past, or whether those do get restricted down a little bit. But it will be interesting to see whether kind of new fields emerge. So I think it's about kind of looking for those niches and where the holes are in society at the moment, and kind of how the legal profession can slot into them and work from there. So I think it's quite an exciting, innovative time to see what the future will look like, and whether the legal landscape will change, or whether the focus will be the same, or what that will look like.
Yes. Well, you've dovetailed nicely into my question, which was around what do you see as some of the opportunities? And as you've talked about, some of those can be around, look, how are we flexible, and how can we look at different areas, and how might law change?
Yeah, I definitely think there's going to be new fields opening up, and whether it's more of a local focus, I've seen quite a lot at the moment about, buying local, supporting local, and that in itself could create more kind of industry in New Zealand. If we're not kind of buying as many exports, and we're now kind of focusing on how we can produce these in New Zealand, and if those industries do open up, then whether there's more legal work for those industries. So yeah, I think COVID has kind of made us all feel inspired to be New Zealanders, and we've kind of seen our potential and what we can do. And so I'm excited to hopefully see that grow in the future.
Nicely put,
Yeah.
Luka. Look, the College of Law we have certainly in the last several years really started to think about the concept of health and well-being. We know law can be a really demanding profession, and one that does require a lot of those people who are in law. Of course, clients and as well are requesting more and more from. So what are your thoughts about health and well-being? How do you feel organisations can assist in allowing people to be at their best?
Yeah, so I think for me, well-being is kind of the overall topic, and then within that there are so many different levels within it. So, for me, my well-being consists of ensuring that I'm walking and getting fresh air, that I stay in contact with my family and my friends and talk to them on a daily basis, eating well, drinking heaps of water, and feeling like I have a purpose, or feeling like I can give back or contribute or help in any way. So that's my idea of well-being. But what I've learned is everyone has a slight different idea of well-being. So that's one of the things that we've really tried to focus on in Souls, especially, is finding those kind of consistent factors that everyone kind of shares, and providing events to help enhance that, whether it's, doing a group walk, or doing a mental health breakfast. So it's finding those things that are consistent and kind of providing events that suit those needs. And one of my favourite events, and events that I think really help, are the mental health breakfasts. So we had one last year, which was specifically a men's mental health breakfast. So we got a speaker to come in, and then that speaker kind of opened up the floor to conversation. So everyone went round in the circle and said something and shared their story. And why I think that is so important is because, especially in law, there's this kind of feeling that everyone's fine and everyone's doing well and no one is struggling. And so you look up to these people and you feel isolated and lonely, because you're like, well, I feel a bit off, but these people are just doing amazing. And so what those kind of conversation circles help to do is for people to look at people that they look up to and know that they're also struggling with things and they're not perfect. and then it helps everyone to feel less alone. So I think those events are really, really good. Just kind of opening up that conversation and making everyone feel like they're not alone. And we also in Dunedin have like a wellness week. So we have heaps of events on throughout that week, mindfulness as well, just to kind of get people to take that first step and find what sort of events they enjoy and what events help them. And then they can kind of put that into their everyday lives and kind of tailor their well-being to those specific events that they find really help them. So yeah, that's what my idea of kind of the future of well-being is understanding that everyone's well-being is unique and individual, and just kind of helping people find what works for them, and so that they can facilitate their own kind of well-being schedule is how I like to call it. But yeah.
Some really great points there, Luka. Thank you. And it sounds like you're doing some really good stuff. Is there anything you think that the profession could do as a whole to help assist?
I think within the profession, for me, it would just be support. So ensuring that everyone in a firm or in a work environment feels supported and feels like they belong. And there are many ways to do that, whether it's just a team dinner with your firm or with your team, or I heard some people when they clerked at firms would go on like team walks during lunch breaks. So it's kind of getting people out of the office and getting them all to know each other on a personal level. And then I think it's easier for people to relate and feel supported. And I mean, you can put some of those events into work environments as well, whether it's, getting a speaker in to come and talk about wellness or mental health. So yeah, I definitely think that some of those things could be translated into the profession, and they definitely already are. So yeah.
Great. Yes, that the concept of collaboration and connection, and you mentioned the point about role modeling, that hearing people say, sometimes I've struggled and sometimes it is difficult, that can be really opening and allow people to step in and have a conversation.
100%. It's
Great.
yeah, I think for a role model to say that, you really feel a connection and you feel like just like you're able to relate to them a bit more, which I think is really helpful, especially someone that you look up to, in the legal profession, is a really good thing.
I agree. We're all human, aren't we? And nobody is bulletproof. So it goes a long way hearing some role models talk about their ability and their strength, but allowing people a space to be real.
Definitely. Because people can think like role models can think that in their mind, and not kind of realize how much of an effect that would have if they actually said it out loud and for people to actually hear that. So I think, it's small steps, and I think it's just for people to realize how much of an impact that does have on people working for them, or just people in the business world in general. And that kind of spreading that message that it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to have these conversations. You need to have no weakness, and you can't talk about being upset, or you can't have a bad day. It's okay to have a bad day. And often when you talk about it, it makes it better, because when you keep it bottled up inside, it just builds.
Totally. So finally then, for you, what's been one of the biggest learnings that you've had through this that you would like to take forward?
I think for me, I'm one of those people that always is like, where am I going to be next? So like when I'm in Dunedin, I'll always plan my day, and I'll say, okay, lectures then I'll have coffee, and then I'll have this meeting, and then I'll do this, and there's always something next. But being in lockdown, it kind of taught me to just be centered and still in myself and know that it's okay to just sit down and not do anything. And it's often more productive to take that hour out of your day and just kind of reflect and digest what you've gone through and think about what you're coming up next, and then go out and do something. Because in life there's so many distractions, you know, there's people everywhere, there's coffee, there's lunch, there's meetings, there's lectures, and I think it's just taking that time to eliminate those distractions and just say it's okay to be still and centered in yourself and reflect on what you've gone through, because being able to do that will then help you apply yourself to other things. So I hope that I'm able to take that with me into life after lockdown, and just take that time out of my day to just sit and be calm and still and not have to worry about, you know, in 20 minutes I have to be somewhere or do something. Or, yeah.
Well, that concept of being present, giving yourself the time, that sometimes to go fast, we go slow.
Definitely.
Just pausing.
Yeah. Yeah, my mum's always told me slow
Luka, thank you so much for your time. And yes, I know we're all here to go so fast, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely.
I know. Luka, thank you so much for your time. Some really great tips in there, and we really appreciate you discussing this with us, because well-being and health is hugely important. So very, very, very big thanks. So safe
Thank you so much for having
me back down to Dunedin, and I'm sure we will connect again.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Nice to see you, and that's me signing off.